This is Cat the Catster. This is the making of Vanguards Space. Yes, we're going to go on to the next one. Probably starting Monday, and that's very exciting. But yes, the next series is a reimagining of Starcrackers, the Sphere of Influence, and a follow-up episode, the Kiwi Fiasco. There are 2 episodes together in there, and I think a third one as well, the send-off or something. So there's like 3 episodes because if you did the original movie as it was intended, it would have been an hour long or less, actually, and the remaining stuff wouldn't come up to 90 minutes. They just didn't know how to edit stuff back then. So yeah, there's 2 movies in there. Or read this in the Kiwi Fiasco. The 2 stories interrelated. There's the sphere catching them, and then there's the other one. It's like 2 stuck together. Unlike Canary Space, though, which was way longer and had 4 90-minute movies, I don't think this one has 90 minutes. That has 4 at all. This doesn't have 4. Also, 2480's story is also not necessarily Starcrackers. It's Vanguards, and you can do anything you really want. And after reviewing at least cursorily reviewing the Valentine episode and all that, saying, oh, this is going to be this guy, and that's going to be that guy, that's Clark over there, and that's Raxler, and that's... We don't need to do that like that. We do probably have Roger Math in there. He was changed to Sam Clerk in the Silly Trek stories. Funny. Not to make fun of that whole idea, but no, it should be played by it should be a younger crew, for one thing. It shouldn't be Picard. He's like 47 when the Next Generation started. He should be a little younger. It could work. So what do you do there? A lot of them can't sit down. The action figures can't sit. There's the awkward shuttle scene that's supposed to happen where the cadet can't fly a shuttle. I don't think we can film that scene because that makes no sense. That he would, it has to make a little sense. If there's a Starfleet cadet that's been trained to fly on a ship, he's not going to be unable to fly a shuttle. That doesn't make any sense at all. Why would he be? Yeah. No. For the character that was Kerrigan. That should be someone else. I certainly can change names around. Yeah. To change the dynamic of the character, do we have a hot captain lady who's suddenly his girlfriend, who's a trans dude? Is he by accident? Is a notion of them being gender? I mean, it's kind of cool, but I don't think we were trying to be progressive in the 90s when we did the show, or in the 2000s. It's just that we didn't think not to be. We were like, oh, they carry out Clark's the other ones. So we didn't think not to be. So we also, in the movie itself, we were not really doing the characters right because we didn't know what we were doing, and we were like in our late teens, early 20s, and we didn't know how to act. So at times Clark is playing it like a straight man, which he like as in playing like a Burns and Allen thing, straight guy and the comedic guy, right? Not the other kind. Also the other kind, but he's playing it straight, and Raxler is supposed to be over the top. He's crazier. He comes in the opening scene with. We can't possibly film this where he's got like a bathrobe and a towel on. They're not filming that. That's for the other guy. So Vanguard Space is supposed to be its own timeline. It's not even the same Earth. It's yet another parallel Earth story on the other side of this Red Angel star system. We thought of it first, Star Trek Discovery. We thought of it way back in the 90s. You can't steal that name. That's what we called it. It was a red dwarf star with a halo around it. He's probably thinking of Fomalhaut, which is actually not a red dwarf star, but a white star. But that's probably what I was thinking of, Fomalhaut. Or possibly Epsilon Indi. But yeah, one of those. Probably Epsilon Indi. but that's really more of a K-type star. Yes, because they're not really literally so. So if fans later on in the future are trying to figure out what those stars are, don't bother. We made it up because we kind of had to, because we know that those stars don't have planets or whatever. It throws them off. Because Brian's not going to copy me directly, but close enough. I don't know him, but we're all thinking around the same lines. So yeah, we want Vanguards to be something original and not just. This is a remake, so we can reimagine it, we can subvert expectations, and be bizarre, but not overly PG-13 bizarre, just bizarre. Yeah, we can't actually have them. They kind of imply that Vanguards Space is just on the other side of an anomaly, the Red Angel star system, named after the art building at San Jose State, not after some floating lady thing like plot device, red matter, red blood thing, Orky Kurtzman thing, which made no sense. Time traveling lady in a suit. The Dark Forest. Where's the Dark Forest? The other side of the Starcrackers thing, the story, was the Termarillion sagas. The later called Twilight on the Sea of Bones was a short story. Nothing to do with Twilight at all. It was a short story. But it was the Termarillion story was the lizard people with forearms, and they were going to do there was this massive saga. These aliens are near a singularity, and they worship the sky, the singularity thing. It's a black hole kind of thing. And the space cage that catches the ship, the Vanguard, also is in that, and that takes them to the singularity in the story. They change it in this version. It's not a black hole in this version. It's just an old star, because it made a little more sense to make it just a star that has a transport device like that. We didn't know what to call it back then, but it was a warp bubble, basically. A warp bubble, but it's a cage. It's like a Dyson plasma Dyson sphere instead of a Dyson sphere. We'll do that. So yeah, there's a bunch of cross-pollination there. It always has been. Termarillions used over and over again. Now it's the Termarillions in order to keep the name Terrellian. Although, was he thinking of Star Trek II and Clark Terrell? Because I bet he was. And so were they. Probably. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Clark Terrell. The Terrellians. The lizard people were going to show up, and there was going to be this dark forest, which is the idea that aliens are not around because they're gone, because this larger alien race, Cat 2 race, Category 2 race, showed up and killed everybody. Our story will not do that. The aliens aren't gone. Some of them are, and they investigate this one group that's gone, and it's the Totemus from the other story. Yeah. I liked how the Canary Space story just... One of those all, you mean you're the Clannad Doll? The forefather guys? Oh, yes. That's all they had to say. Yeah, that's all they had to say. Whether you can call us that if you want to. You've been calling us that anyway. The forefathers being an in-joke for the creators of Silly Trek appearing in the Silly Trek story, saying they're the Silly Trek, like space admirals. Space. Here is a sneak peek at the crew of the Vanguard. Ooh, the Vanguard. The Starcrackers are reboot, reimagining, 10 years after the 2014 release of Starcrackers. Well, 11 years now. So here we have they look more like the comic book version, and they've gone through 2 revisions from there. And I think what we've got here is, this is a Diva Clark, right there, who they kind of look like a little bit like Discovery uniforms in this, but they're not. Diva Clark. I think that's Lancaster, is the Uhura. Kira is Diva Clark. And that's Schmidt, obviously. It really does look sexy. That is Sarah. Well, now she's not Sarah anymore. She's going to be just Ginoli. That's Ginoli. And Schmidt is back there. Not sure if he's in focus. And then we have Thompson in the back. We redid Thompson to make him look more like an Orion. We've got Henderson up in the front here, Jose Mako playing him. We have some other characters. I think the one on the very end is going to eventually be the young sock character. She was Alicia Nguyen, and they've changed her name. That's who that is. We've got some other ones here. The front, we have the reimagined other one. Maybe that's Young Saw, actually. No, I mean that is Young Saw, but it's a reimagined. No, that's Dark. Yeah, Dark, because apparently the name we couldn't use also means dark. So we said it would kind of be funny. She's the whitest person there. She's dark. Cardi means dark in Gaelic. It's dark. Call her Dark. Jen Dark. And actually, originally in the show, they did make the joke that she was once that her name was Janice in the story. But Silly Kelly. And the oddity is that Silly Kelly Bullocks, is now playing the Sarah Giannoli character as a dude, as a trans dude. That's actually kind of funny. It's not funny that trans dude, but it's funny that the guy that's playing Jan Dark is now playing the commander's girlfriend. Boyfriend, girlfriend, trans girlfriend. It's very progressive. Yeah. In the front we have Azeloth, because we can't use Asloth because several games copied it since we did it. So Azeloth is sort of a dog. It's supposed to be a German Shepherd dog, but the way his makeup came out, it looks more like he's a bat, but he's supposed to be a dog. That is in the front, instead of it being the Borg Doctor Lady, that is Kimchi. Another Dax variant. That's the dog Dax variant. Dog cat Dax variant. She's a cat, apparently. And so in the joke, when she says she put a hair on her face, which is in the story, she is literally a cat-like creature, so that makes perfect sense. We've got some other characters in here. I'm not sure what Cedo is playing there, or Rumbly Cedo there, but she's there. We'll find out. That's probably Curran in the end there, and that's Morar in the back. Ricky Morar. It was really Moore originally, but that was a little odd, so Morar is better. Or maybe Morar's over here in the back is the Bashir. But I think it's this guy over here. We'll see. And here we have this guy. And yeah, so that's everybody. You could have that be the other. No, but it wouldn't work as the other guy. So it's fine. I think that's it. I think that's the cast of these guys. But I'm going to go over to the cast of the Zuri. Didn't do much to polish up Raxler and Sadre. It is weird that it's a part Picard. It's weird that it's Picard and Riker again. But the way you swapped some of the characters around, that fixes that. It's actually Kira and Riker and Picard. That's actually kind of funny. We have a Sailor V Spock in the background. We have the gunner and the commander officer. Some of the other ones in there. We have another Mr. Carey in the background, another Boimler. So he's keeping an eye on things. Not sure how that's going to work, but it's in there. We have a doctor. The doctor's back there in the background. Is one of them. He is somebody else though. And there's Dragon. Captain Dragon is the beat up looking Scotty. And there's the other Zuri lady, Nervok. I think that's supposed to be Nervok. It's probably Nervok. That'd be cool. Or one of the similar characters. So yeah, not much swapping going on there. In the background, we have the alternate LaForge variant, who is trans. Oh my! Because apparently the shocking revelation of the Zuri story is that the original first Zuri, the Kali lady, turned out she was a dude, and that was the shocking revelation in 1999. That story when Raxler went to his home planet and found out about it. He's like, wait a minute, The corpse. It's got a penis. Oh no, it was a dude the whole time. I didn't know that. How it would still have its member, I don't know. But yeah. But yeah, here's the rest of the. I guess it was a mummy or something. Anyway, here we have. Yeah, that's Raxler. And there was some confusion as to who that was in the OG series. It was probably just Morton Roadkill. I mean, so it is again. I mean, it really kind of is. It could be that or Billy Allen. Yeah. Though it doesn't really matter. They're very similar. It's not Silly Kelly in any case. I did a Raxler sort of character, a live action Raxler who appeared in a Halloween special. It's kind of fun, and a beard. He wanted to have his own Star Crackers. Well, now they're going to do one. That was 2 years ago, and now they're going to do a reboot. Here we are doing a reboot. The Canary Space one wasn't as exciting to Mark's cards as doing the Star Crackers one. So we'll see how well this works in a bit. But here is a behind the scenes stuff of the figurines, and this one is the Borg Kira that everyone seems to like on the channel. They like the Borg Kira. The Borg, I should say, Borg Troy. They like that episode. So she appears in here. It is funny that in the special and the other one, she just basically said, "Oh, don't worry about the Bashir's daughter thing. I was joking." Yeah, I was kind of spoofing that. But yeah, I was kidding. Anyway, so. Well, I'm not going to keep rambling incessantly about the different Zuri people and who they are and everything, because that's kind of silly. Just do the story. But this is painting the figures, preparing them for the shoot on the set, and having completed that, they'll be easily dry by Monday, and they're probably dry now. But we want to see what everything looks like. How it visually looks, and I had done a early test shots of it, and said these guys are a little too dark. A little brighter. Make their outfits a little brighter. Pull out the green a little more than blue. Yeah, and I think I succeeded. I think it works. Yeah, it's you don't want to make it look anything like the other thing. I think he succeeded there too. It doesn't look anything like anything that's been done before. So that's cool. Yeah, usually green is not a central color to blue and green are not a central color to Star Trek as much as a space marine, space cop story kind of thing. Yeah, I mean there can be some backstory if you want, like the goofy idea that Diva Clark is we've gender swapped the character of Clark in it to Diva Clark, who would kind of be his daughter, who was born in the 80s. Not really, but if he was Steve Clark. But Sam Clark, so Sam Clark's daughter, who was born in the 80s, who would be now in their 30s. So, yeah. That changes the dynamic by making it a lady, because then he has a girlfriend named Sarah. Well, then we change the dynamic there, too. And it's not Clark and Blue. So it's a reboot of Vanguards. Vanguards is a reboot of Star Crackers. And using some of the same jokes and material from the original, most of the jokes and material from the original, and it'll be, and there won't be any need to connect it to Canary Space, other than they're on the other side of that Red Angel system. That's a similar system. It's an anomaly that's there, and it conjoins them. So there's an anomaly. So you don't need to over-explain that. It's just there. That's where they are there, and Earth. Star Trek was often going to planets that were like Earth. In Next Generation, they decided, okay, they're more like colonies. That makes more sense. That it's not really Earth; they're just calling it Earth. And by making the planets more ambiguous and not saying, oh, that was Alpha Centauri or Los South Ceti, by making them have weird names, even better, that we don't know exactly where they are. The idea of having it be a slightly less advanced colony than the Federation, because it would be, but but their warp drive is similar. So they've got colony planets out there, and the aliens aren't as prolific in the Starcrackers. It's more of a Federation spin-off. That's not necessary to know any of that backstory. Planet Desiree is the planet that they go and visit in the pilot, and then they visit some of the other planets. The names don't really mean anything other than Megaran being vaguely, formerly Megan. Not after Megan Palmer from Miller from the church, but a previous Megan. That was Mark's cards knew of. Long gone. That was his sister's friend. That was Megan. But later versions of the Starcrackers Vanguard story, the other Megan thought that it was about her, but it really wasn't about her. But there's no need to worry about that because she did not actually see it. Just knew that there was a story out there where there was a planet Megan. That's all she heard about it. She didn't see it. So, yeah, it would just be strange. And he's not really Steve Clark either. It's just that we stole his name and put it in the story because we're like, it's Steve Clark, our teacher, yay! Kind of like we did with Roger Johnson or Roger Math, same time period. Why add it? Be more convoluted and have it's this guy that connects it to the Pineal story and the otherwise. No, you don't need that. Just do the story with the characters in it, like you did with Canary Space, and don't. You don't need to do that either. No, it's 2488. That's what it's going to be in the story, and they're going to meet up with the other ship and crew. They're close enough to each other. They're neighbors, and no, they're not the Draconians and the Kepterans. It's just like the Draconians and the Kepterans. So we had to repost yesterday the Canary Space upgrades, the colony and the retribution. Were reposted because of some screen. We probably should have reviewed those movies before we posted them, but fixed it and reposted them, and now they're getting views again. Yay! So now we're on to this. We're on to the Space Vanguards, and we have one season, and that's 3 movies, pretty much. It's 3 movies, and we're going to begin with what amounts to the Sphere of Influence. This is the first time on the set doing a Sphere of Influence reboot remake. That began production in November of 1990, and now that movie took several years to make, and I've been over before. I'll probably be over it again, but we're going to start filming now. Not use a film. So that the hour-long version of that's what this script is. Came up in this is an hour of the movie, but it's probably going to be more like 45, 50 minutes of it. It's probably not an hour. Probably isn't. This is from the novel, and this is the Zuri ship, and the movie took 13 years to finish because we didn't know what we were doing, and kind of like the Chimera movie also took 13 years. These new shows haven't taken that, though. No time at all. So let's go on with this. I can go into that later. Let's begin. Note that in the script, Kentaurus or Centauri is just a placeholder. He's the last one. It's not the same Kentauri as in the other story. It's not the Litgra planet. It can't be. It's not described that way. So we have Zuri. They're approaching the planet. That's Captain Estrogen as Raxler, and his assistant there, the Lithian Picard as Lithian. We also have the original 1990 bronze art sculpture, the Vulcan V, in the background. It has his little, and he's got the treasure over there. He's got lots of treasure on his bridge. That makes sense. He's a pirate. And here we have a sort of pseudo-Calicat, Holocat guy as Telek, which is kind of fun. And then one of the LaForges in the back. Okay. In 1991, when we started on production, this room is identical to the room where the bed was over there, and the computer thing, the console, and all that. And I think the console was
The bed was sort of in the middle because there was, the console was next to the bed, and there was the bed was on the side. And that is right there where Mark's Cards delivered the line about the Tharian surf juggling over 30 years ago. That's insane. And we're in the same spot, little action figure, doing the Tharian surf juggling line again. I think it's also amusing that we've gender swapped them, and that Clark is now being played by Sam Clark's daughter, and Sarah is being played by her brother. It's weird. What? Just thought I'd point that out. Anyway, so I'm assuming the captain is the Penny DeLark character. That is actually Piedmont, actually, the brother. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah, so, brother, uncle? What? Uncle. Yeah, uncle, not brother. Okay, anyways, that doesn't matter. Let's just keep going. So, commentary. I'm not sure we need the shuttle there and back scene on the going down the planet. Under the auspice that, do we need to learn more about them and Asloth as the kid? This is a scene that doesn't need to be in the movie, I don't think. We don't need to have him shaking the shuttle for no reason. You would think that also that, I mean, I know it's a comedy, but you would think also that they are space cops. They are, like, instructed on flying ships around. They're not gonna just, like, violently screw up the thrusters on the shuttle and to fly it into, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it was funny like 30 years ago, but I don't think it works. And so I would like to omit the shuttle scene and go down to the planet, because this is good hooch. This is a hooch scene. Kind of funny considering that the hooch scene that's on a planet. At that point, none of us could drink. We were under 21 when we did this scene, and we had no idea what it was like going into a bar. We just watched Cheers episodes and assumed that's what happens. So there's like a Cheersy scene coming up, but it's like no, you didn't. Yeah, yeah, it's 21 in the other part. 21. Yeah, sure it was. Yeah.
This is Calicat, the Calicatster. This is a quickie update in the evening here as we completed a half a day of filming and got up to page 19. Did a few reshoots on Vanguards Space. In order to avoid confusion with a Vanguard video game, Space Vanguard video game, and Starship Troopers, and the like, we're going to call this Vanguard Space in order to avoid that. Yeah, so it is going to have not just Vanguards, but Vanguards Space. Or Space Vanguards. No, it can't be called Space Vanguards because that is kind of like the other one. So we're going to go with a Vanguard Space, which only comes up as us. That's fine. So Vanguard Space will be the title of the story. And this is Calicat, the Calicatster. And we have a title situation with this Space Vanguard Star Trek thing. The first one didn't have a problem because canary is a weird word, and and people are drawn to it. It's a weird word. It's cool. Yeah. One of the versions of Vanguards, one of the spin-off idea versions of it's connected to the Telmarellian saga, is the Maelstrom story. It would be the alternate title of the series. However, Twilight and the Sea of Bones is part of the Maelstrom saga. It was like chapter 1. They never, Mark's Cards, John Yeager, never wrote it. Just that one episode, never wrote the rest of the book. It was never finished. Been batting that story around since the origin of Starcrackers. Oh, we're going to do this black hole worshipping lizard alien things. Fortunately, it's just so obvious a title for a sci-fi thing. It's probably why I never did a version of it 35 years ago. Because, yeah, it's like you have, yeah, the male, yeah, anything at sea where there's a funnel going on, anything kind of a black hole, that kind of thing, anything where it's a tumult. Romance novels are often called maelstrom. Because, yeah, obvious, like, ooh, maelstrom. See, it's like, yeah, it's a play on words. Ooh. Yeah, we thought we were being clever, but we weren't. Turns out everyone else thought of it. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead with making this story, of course, and put it together. But we need to come up with another title. 3 of the seasons, basically. That we are adapting just book 1. It's a season 1. That's all we're adapting. We're not even going to jump ahead and say, we're going to do that. No, we're not doing the other 2. I looked them over. We're not doing the other 2 at all. But that doesn't mean they're gone. I mean, use elements from... And we have used elements of their ideas in Starship Locations already. So this will seem familiar when we get to some of these episodes. We'll be like, wait a minute. Didn't they kind of do this? The diplomatic alien planet thing. Didn't they do that already? Yes, they did. They adapted that story. So in the 80s, this is another behind the scenes. In the 80s, Mark's Cards and John Yeager it had thought of this alien race called the Terrellians. In the 80s. This is the 80s, mind you. This is before Warhammer 4K. They used it as well. The Terrellians. Next Generation and DS9 used the name of 5 different races, including a lizard-like one, but mainly humanoid and with 4 arms. Warhammer 4K, they're lizard dog people, the dog soldiers, 4 arms and collars. Yeah, but that was in '98, so that when they were introduced in that one, so which is related indirectly to Robotech. But yeah, so yeah, obviously we can't use that name, and even if you change it to the Termarellians or the Termarelli, you still have, yeah, it doesn't work. So I just thought I'd chime in there and say, yeah, another Warhammer reference. I don't think Mark's Cards was aware of Warhammer 40K in 1998. It's possible, but clearly they were borrowing from the Star Trek aliens. Yeah, that's weird. It is spelled a little differently. It's Taralians, but it's very close. Yeah, by 1 letter. Those things. Not only that, but they have a Vanguard, a ship. So there's no in a parody you can kind of get away with some of that stuff. You can say like, okay, I was influenced by this or that, whatever. We weren't. It's a coincidence, but they're just going to assume that. We don't necessarily want them to assume that, so we have to come up with something. Yeah. So I'm going to do some more filming of the story, and worry about coming up with a title change later, because yeah, you can't use either of those things. Yeah. Yeah. Update. Yeah. Only minutes later. Just for shits and giggles, I looked up Desiree Space. Should we call it Desiree Desire Space? There's a planet. No. Can't use it. It not only is a London architectural style, it's a number of other things that would be Rule 34. Yeah, because of the word. Yeah, even though this is not that, it's just that name. Yeah, don't use it. So yes, clearly this is inspired by 10 Forward from Next Generation. The scene was filmed in, I believe, around the same time as the guy falling into the plate scene and all that, bar scene. We're gonna do that too. Yeah, we gotta have a guy fall into his plate, and then we gotta have like. Yeah, we can have all these guys doing their thing. So here's a guy. Here's a table with a thing. The guy's gonna fall into his plate. So yeah, that's summer 91, 92, 91, I think. Anyway, so yeah, but yeah, this is a rewrite of that scene. So
So yeah, making of. Do a little drink research to discover what it is they were doing. It's interesting. The Long Island iced tea is like a bunch of stuff mixed in together: gin, rum, and iced tea, and ice and soda. What kimchi is describing here, with iced coffee, whiskey, and whipped cream and a cherry, is a classic Irish. Yeah, that's all it is. Irish coffee. Just Irish. But I think the joke here, because we didn't know what the drinks were, we were just guessing. Because when we wrote this, we weren't even 21 yet, so we were filming. We didn't know what drinks were. They didn't have the internet back then. We just made stuff up, and we thought, you know what would be really gross is if somebody mixes iced tea with whiskey. Yeah, because whiskey's gross, and mix it with whipped cream and a cherry. But actually, that's an Irish coffee. It's actually good. So yeah, it'll get you drunk. But you know what else will get you drunk is the other one. Long Island iced tea is worse because you'll get really, really fat. Anyway, so yeah, just you know, like 40 years later. Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah, that's only 21. Drink responsibly. Nobody is underage at this incidentally. Pretend drinking. Okay, yes, and no, and in the story, it was in the episode we were not imbibing anything on the set. You just don't want to get your actors actually drunk. So what we were doing was we couldn't. We were under 20. So I think we had like cups of coffee that we faked it. Cups of coffee. That's all it was. Anyway, behind the scenes there. Greetings. This is Calicat the Calicatster on the set. We started late. This is it for the day. I think pretty much. The set. Mark's cards ought to be here in a minute. Titles and things like that. I'll have to mention that. We did a classic scene from the movie. Pretty much remembered it. Also, it covered the story. Incel has since become a word in the lexicon currently. Kind of funny to throw in there. Yeah, Henderson is not because he got lucky once. Yeah. So, he's not, technically. Anyway, but he's still supposed to be an ass on the ship, so it's the ass. The crew of the ship's ass. There's always an ass. The crew, there are all archetypes. You have the jester, fool, and the commander, and all the archetypes. They're all in there. The counselor. It's a next-gen spoof, but it's also... it's not Lower Decks, because Lower Decks didn't exist yet. It's a next-gen spoof. And DS9 did not exist yet in the early script, so it's next-gen. I mentioned bars. That was kind of funny, because, I don't think any of us were... Well, I was 21 by the time it ended filming, but, yeah, we weren't really doing anything like that. So it's like, then we went on to film the other scenes, back in the day. It's hilarious going over 30 years later, doing that scene again, and making things work, including the other scene with the engine room and how we're gonna suss out how Moore is trapped in the inverter pulsator thing. Originally, it said inverter pulsator engine thingy. I had him say inversion pulsator, which sounds a little more science fiction-y. Still bullshit. And also threw in the line Sparrow engine and Termarellian in there as well. It's in the script. This version of the script is interesting for doing that. It clearly is a 2020-2021 reissue for the books, which is cool. We got to change the name of the series because I don't want people thinking this is Warhammer 40K ripoff, which it is not at all. Then we looked for the other names, including we could call it the Red Angel. Guess what show that's from? Warhammer. We're at not just Discovery. Warhammer thought of it first, before Discovery. We thought of it first before Warhammer did. Anyway, so obviously we can't call it that. But I'm still calling that star system that because they colloquially named it that. So they're going to be trapped in this episode. Still call that. And also the smart cage thing is a warp bubble, essentially, which they addressed in Next Generation a little later after this story. there was an episode where somebody was trapped in a warp bubble. It's very similar. In which case, Star Trek was again copying us. Man, okay. So anyway, so yeah. So yeah. Here, yeah. Where's the title change? Just Mark's Cards, and I were at the mall discussing this. He's taking off in a couple of weeks for Japan. But yes, the we of course can continue this production series. The Maelstrom wouldn't have been a good title. It's used too many times for other things. Also Maelstrom is the name of several romance novels. Desiree is also. Vanguard is not, but it's the name of some video games, things like this. Probably don't want to use it. I'm gonna say we could try Sphere of Influence. Just name it what the novel wasn't named, the first novel, the first season novel, and just call the episode Starship Locations the Sphere of Influence. There's an idea, and this is simply Sphere of Influence parts 1, 2, and 3. You could do that, like the Sentinels type of thing. You could choose a different synonym for Vanguard, but keep the story. I mean, they are called the Vanguards in the story. That's what they are. It's the space cops. The cops from the future. It was before Red Letter Media thought of it. Actually, ours probably in the same universe, but yeah, they're not supposed to be good at their jobs. You jokingly said we call it Starship Locations ineptitude, or Starship Locations procedural, or something like that. Jokingly said Starship Locations woke. It's just woke. He likes the idea of the gender swapped characters. The ship thinks that's a great idea. Make it sort of like it's the offspring of the characters from the original show. Just because it would be at this point, they'd be the 20-something to 30-something offspring of us from the original show, which is funny. But yeah, that's fine as long as it isn't literally that's what it is. The idea of Diva Clark being Sam Clark or Clark's daughter is fine in the story. So this is another show where they're reliving the same events as the other story. It's their next generation that's doing it, which is kind of funny. You have something simple. Just make it real simple. Even a one word. Starship Locations Vanguards is kind of a long title and hard to say. It worked with Canary because it kind of flowed. Starship Locations Canary, whereas Vanguard doesn't really flow as much. Vanguards. Starship Locations Vanguards doesn't really flow as much as Canary. Starship Locations Canary is an onomatopoeia. Yeah. So try to think of something over the night and see what happens tomorrow morning and have an idea. Yeah. And think on it, it's kind of impossible to come up with a name that isn't already taken somewhere by somebody. Hence all the weird names in there. I don't think we have a problem with Zuri, though. I think that's all right because they're not because we thought of it first. And also, we had derivative. We thought of originally that name comes from Ruxy, as in Ruxpin people. And it goes back to Silly Trek when they were literally teddy bear people, like attacking them. Similar to in the Sentinels with the Carabrians, 87, a little bit later. But yeah, same time period. So yeah, they were bear people, bear robots, attacking the Enterprise and crew. This is going to be about them. Then it evolved into, they were just a race of European and something else aliens, and then they were something else, and now they're green. Now they're like Orions, to avoid
any kind of controversy involving other races or nationalities. They clearly are green. They're not any nationality. They're not any group. They're green. I think you can get away with that. Having a Keaton Sakura Cat Girl version of kimchi is funny. It's implying, oh, yeah. The Sparrow engine being mentioned is funny. And the black holes, as you said, the black hole concept has changed. When we were younger, in our teens and 20s, the black hole's like in the Disney, the black hole. And the black hole, you can go through it and come out the other side. It's not a hole. It's a singularity. We learned that later on. It's a singularity. Nobody survives going into a black hole. They're dead. So you can't go into a black hole. You're dead. You're splattered onto the surface of the singularity and destroyed. You're destroyed. The only thing that escapes is Hawking radiation, and basically you're atomized and then shot out the other side of the event horizon. Yeah, you're kind of screwed. And the white holes that are actively shooting that. Yeah, so it can't be a black hole. The sphere device is just a very, very large planet-sized scale version of a warp bubble. Pretty much. It's a warp bubble. It's a hyperspace bubble. Hyperspace fold bubble thing. At the time, we thought, oh, this is a mysterious, different thing. That doesn't make this sense. It's a cage. Trap the guy in it. Originally, it was stellar-sized, and we made it smaller in the novel. Planet. Still pretty big. It's Earth-sized, planet-sized thing. It's beyond them when they get trapped in it. But yeah, that would be the next scene of the story, is they do that. And the sphere story is only the first hour. Second hour is their mission after that, when they go on to a couple of the other planets and the aftermath of the sphere thing and what it does to them and their command crew that addresses them and all that. In the second hour. So. So you have actually the second 2 hours, technically. But the way this is shot so far is it's more like this is closer to 40 minutes, the other's 40 minutes, and the other's 40 minutes. So you're not really, it's a little over 90 minutes and then some. Kind of like the other ones were. It works. You're combining 3 episodes. And they work together well. So come up with a simple title. So it's funny. Very woke. Cops from the future. Starship. There's like 2 bar scenes in the last 10 minutes of the movie. So far, and it's like, they keep going to the bar. They just really, really loved Cheers, and they really loved 10 Forward on Next Generation. The idea that they're in a bar, and later on, when we could go into a bar, we found that we could not talk and have ourselves heard. It's usually very noisy in a bar. But we made that joke in the story by having them stop the music. And in the movies, they always make it so a bar isn't noisy and loud. You can actually hear yourself talk. Whereas in a real one, you couldn't. No, it wouldn't be too noisy. But yeah, it's a sports bar, even worse. But yeah, didn't do it. Didn't really hang out in those places. Thank you for that. And the drinks introduced in there. Well, yeah. Don't recommend doing that. Drink responsibly. Anyway, so yeah, I know we joked about that with Mahoney and the other characters. He's Irish and all that. And being 1/4 Irish, I can make the jokes about drinking Irishman. I'm an Italian, the other 4th Italian. So I can make the jokes about wine jokes too as well. Anyway, so rest is all mixed up. Anyway, so yeah, the characters are approved by Mark's Cards. The story's approved. The sets are neat. The How I did the Moore scene was Aurora flying out of the cupboard improved. Is all on board with continuing the gritty reboot, which is still funny. The jokes still work. They do. They're just updated a little bit. If there's one that doesn't fly so well, like like some elements of the drinking scene with the girl and the thing. If I think a little line doesn't work now, they updated a little bit, modernized a little bit. But I think for the most part, the dailies look good, and yeah, we've done about 30 minutes of the film already. Page 24. Well, that would be 25 minutes roughly of a 1 hour story. So it's only an hour of Sphere of Influence, a little over an hour. So yeah, Sphere of that particular episode is a pilot, and it's a series. And it's a series of 15 episodes, but a lot of them are short. They're shorter than Canary Space. I think altogether, the Sphere of Influence book, that season, is 513 pages. So if you split that up into 3 stories, you get, or make it 4 and get less than that. I think 3 will be fine. The other one was longer. Canary Space one was longer. So, yeah, it should be good to continue with the story and come up with another title. We'll still call the file Vanguards, just for clarity. It's a file, there's Vanguards. But the finished story will have a different title and title cards. Yeah. Maybe you could even call it Starship Locations Divas. You call it Divas. It's named after the commander lady. The Divas. Something they didn't do on Discovery until the last season was introduce the other characters on the bridge. This one immediately introduces to the characters on the bridge. The younger characters on the bridge leave the bridge to go find the other character. They meet. The commander and his girlfriend meet. Her girlfriend in this case. They go down to get kimchi from the planet. They meet. They come up to the ship. They interact. They have a fight. Great way for them to meet. They go back to the ship. And they have another bar scene that isn't a fight, but rather listening to a misogynist asshole comes in. But yeah, the dynamic is definitely different. Definitely works in the story. Yeah, they all work out. He's a toxic person. He's what they would call a toxic person now. A toxic Henderson. He's like an influencer blogger. That works in the story, I think. In the story. You figure the other ones aren't, and it's funny that he's not an incel because he had sex once with somebody, but the captain's all, I hope it was consensual. Yeah, because then he's a skis back. Ugh. But yeah, it's not a nod to anybody. I'm just making fun of the characters like that. It's not a nod to anybody. It's not a reference. That's what the trouble with political intrigue stories currently. Sci-fi. We're mentioning that a little bit too, is that you can't literally say modern politics are in your sci-fi story, and I'm literally making fun of this particular group, because then no, it dates it immediately and it's bad. And you don't do that. No, you just make it sort of, this group of bad guys over here acts a certain way, and acts a certain way. If you want to interpret that to be political, fine, go ahead. I did not write it that way. Anyway, so this is Calcat the Calicaster. It's been about 12 hours since the other planets now in the galaxy. So during the movie era of Star Trek, 200 years earlier, the characters, that's all I need to know. Desiree is close by the planet. We don't know how close. The Earth is further off, or this version of Earth. It's not Rebel Terra from the other story, although it kind of seems like it. That's in there. Red Angel's in there because we thought of that damn star first, and ours is cooler, and we're using it. We can't use Vanguard though, so we have to change it to Avant-Garde or Advanced Guard. They call themselves the Vanguards because it's the ship. But yeah, so we're going to call it the Advanced Guard. That's the name of the Starship Locations Advanced Guard. It goes together. It rhymes. It's linear. Starship Locations Vanguard. It flows like Canary did. Starship Locations Canary also flows. Great. Just go with that. Just go with that. That's fine. Just go with that. So they call themselves for short the Vanguard, but the Advanced Guard, and they're not good at their jobs. As I texted to Mark's Cards this morning, is that if they had a movie poster, and they don't, the movie poster would read, "They're not badass. They're just bad." So kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy type of thing. They're not badass. They're just bad. But yes, I'm going to make a few other changes to this credit list here, because I thought if it's fictional adventures and semesters, people, it's some TMS, that's fine. It's their kids, it's their descendants, so that's fine. And sure, why not? Yeah. But you don't need to know all that. You don't need to know all that. That other members. Mark's Cards liked the idea of the gender swapped characters and trans swapped characters. That's great. The other ones doing their thing. That's great. The drink scene, all the other scenes that were discussed. It looks good. It looks very good. It's going to be fun. So that's all I got to say about. Make some changes to the thing that's up on the screen, and go from there, because I've already decided while doing this just now, we need to change something. But you don't need to know, because it's already going to be out when you see the making of the story. The title is changed. The file on the computer is still the original file on the computer, so you can find it. Other than that, yeah, 9 minutes. So yeah, cool. And it's the first pass of. So yeah, it's like all of the clicks where they flip from scene to scene, transition wipes, all that stuff, all the way up to this point. And also, let it be known that the 45-minute version in 1992, they aired in February '92. This is as far as we got in February '92. But in the way we did it, it took 45 minutes. This is the first. It was actually 30 minutes. 30 minutes of it. So we were like a third of the way through the movie. The rest of it, when we completed it in 2005, and then added to it in 2011, the second half was fleshed out more and added to and stuff. But yeah, this is where it ended. It ended like there was another story we did before, Graham Cracker Chronicles, the board, which we used some footage of that in this to take out the Jung Swan shirts my character was wearing twice. I don't know what I was thinking. Other than that, so yeah. So there's the whole backstory of the Star Crackers movie, '90s, and yeah, it was the first. This portion sat here like 40 minutes of it. Back in the day, it was 3 hours of raw footage. The 3 days of filming sat in limbo for several years, over a decade, only to be finished in 2005. With the second half, wasn't approved of necessarily by Mark's Cards or John Yeager. Then finally we did an approved script, put it together. We had also written an early version of Chimera. That also took 12 or 13 years. 2006 was when that script was finished, but not finalized. Finished. Finalized script was 2011. It was a little later for that one. And then 2019. So it took like 8 years. There were other things going on, I guess, And we couldn't get the cast back together to do re-recording, even in the 2011 version. All the Tim is just John's voice pitch bent down. Is Mark's Cards. It's not Tim. He wasn't there. Yeah. So in terms of this 30-minute segment here, yeah. So we're looking over that. And the original movie was a mess, and this is Star Crackers redone. Yeah, this looks good, except for that brawl scene. Doesn't look good. That we did not. I don't know what I was looking into the camera filming, but I was not filming it accurately. And now the brawl scene is problematic, it was discussed last night on Thursday as well with Mark's Cards. Why would even though it's a Western and the sheriff gets to beat up somebody, why would that happen in there? There's pieces of it in there that make it into the story, but yeah, the space cops come in, and then you film the footage of the figure, and the one figure kicks a guy in the balls. There's another figure fighting over there. It just says barroom brawl in the script, and then the bouncer kicks him out. So, what you could do is you could make it look like there was one, and they just happened to knock some people around. Because, yeah, and that's what the footage that is shot that's good, and just say, okay, there was a brawl, and they went outside. There's enough footage of the dialogue to say that without necessarily reshooting anything. I don't think you need to. I don't think you need the brawl scene. You do need the barf scene, though. The barf scene is awesome. And you need a guy falling into the plate. That's funny. And Henderson and the drink scene. Yeah, and the Irish coffee. Roxford, Saldre, a lot. Yeah, so there's I think it looks good so far. It's a comedy. It doesn't have to have necessarily a linear brawl scene. Not if it doesn't work. The Raxler and Clark back and forth is reminiscent of Star Trek episodes that have done that, including Wrath of Khan. However, neither of them are Khan. It's evident from the dialogue in the story that it's more like it isn't established yet, actually, who Raxler is. It appears that in the story, the way it's written, they don't know each other that well. They kind of know each other, but it's not revealed yet in the script that they kind of know of each other from the Academy. So it's not Raxler. It's more like she's like allegedly son of the other guy, trying to do the Tim voice, and kind of off, but it's fine because he's not really doing Tim. He's doing more of a Michael Dorn voice, so it's fine. It's kind of weird that Schmidt wants casualties on the ship. That a lot of people, but then again, they are a strange crew, very very strange crew. Yeah, and maybe even problematic that they're a little like that, a little more like. But that's funny. It's not a reflection of anything about actual cops. It's space cops. It's future. It's not. It's just the characters in it are inept, incompetent. It's not a reflection of anything modern. It's just a joke in the story that they're. Yeah, it's not a reflection of anything. Yeah. So you have. You have a misogynist character who's kind of a and he's not there. Yeah, the Raxler thing. It's not really. Yeah, it's Clark. It's as if Clark had an Academy nemesis. It's not like it's Khan. It's more like Finnegan from that Shore Leave episode. An Academy nemesis comes back to threaten him. No, it's more like that. It's like, okay, he's not a tier level, high level threat. He's just an Academy nemesis. So they're just like, yeah, I remember you from that other thing. I like you very much. Yeah, that kind of thing. So that makes a little more sense. So if that makes sense, it is funny that we've completed the up to the point of the other movie, February of 1992 this far, and that we were able to do that in what took us that initial filming run took almost 2 years to do just 30 minutes of the script. Here I did it in 2 days and a couple hours, a handful of hours. Which means that the rest, by that admonition, should take another couple of days to do the remaining script. The script only has 67, it's only 70 pages. This is 30 of those. Yeah, 35 of those, roughly. So yeah, the script's not long. I don't know why that movie pilot took so long to be. It just took forever because we didn't know what we're doing. Now that we do these pilots, like 1 hour pilot, that's easy now. We've done all those Transformers Mush. We've done several, 24 of those, if not more. In these Starship locations, we've done half dozen of more. Probably a dozen of them now. A dozen. And some of them are an hour long, some of them are 2 hours long. So shouldn't be a problem. I want to ramble on that. I'm watching this going like, yeah, do we need that brawl scene? We probably don't. Okay, this is the Calcatster. Behind the scenes of Advanced Guard, or Vanguards. I was reviewing the 37 minutes pages that we shot so far. Yeah, and I've decided that because the story is supposed to be, the backgrounds are a bit amateurish and visually unsettling, the bar not looking like a bar is not a problem. And I just thought I'd chime in on that. Some of the bar footage doesn't quite look like a bar. It looks like a table, big table, and another big table stuck to it. I think the idea there is that we're sort of spoofing the original story more than we're spoofing, say, 10 Forward. We're not trying to do 10 Forward. We're not trying to make it look like a bar. We're trying to make it look like they're at a convention hall and they're waiting in line to get snacks. It's funnier that way. But yeah, it happens to be supposedly a bar. But I think the way that it was shot, it still looks enough like a bar. Get away with it. The idea being that the people that, back in the day when we shot the original story, we had no idea what the drinks were. We had no idea what a bar was like, except what was on TV. So, and after years later, after seeing actual bars, they were not half as exciting as on television. They even reference that as a joke in the story when they're allegedly playing a song and they tell the people playing the song to stop singing so that we can understand the dialogue. There's a common conceit in movies. Whenever they do a procedural, there's always a bar scene. Whenever they do an action movie, there's always a bar scene somewhere, because it goes back to the Western days, and westerns are Western, all of the sound foleying done in the bar scene, with everyone mic'd up with their mics, and proper sound editing, and they probably dub in the music later. Everything's probably dubbed in later. It's probably dead quiet on the set of one of these shows, and then they just do the lighting and the dialogue, and then they stop, and then they dub in everything else later. Like in Section 31, there's a bar scene similar. You wouldn't understand them if you went into an actual busy bar. Well, there was serving drinks. Even like an Applebee's. Back in the day, the Applebee's, they're gone. The Cinnabar back in the day, the Tune Bar back in the day. All these places are gone. And you went into one of those, and it would be noisy and loud, especially if it was a sports bar. Okay, the sports bar is stuffed pizza. You wouldn't be able to hear yourself talk to your friend next to you, much less pick up somebody in a bar. It wouldn't happen, because you'd be like, what? What'd you say? What? The whole time. It is Sunday the 23rd, and only because February is a short month, I'll do a little filming this tonight here. Just a little. Hopefully we can complete principal photography on at least the part of it that's Vanguards. The first one, Sphere of Influence. I think we want to do the Kiwi fiasco. Yeah. So I kind of want to do some of this tonight, and we'll see what happens. It would be page 38. So yeah, I know this is really, really brief, but I just wanted to do a little bit of filming today. So to say we did 30 minutes of raw footage. So I did some of that rack sourcing in there. I remember doing that years ago, many times over, so it wasn't that hard to do it again. The lines were almost memorized. But yeah, nothing else going on there. Yeah, so so making a we'll continue on Monday and the rest of the week and see what's going on with the I guess we're calling it the Advanced Guard now, but the file is called Vanguards. The episode will be called Advanced Guard. The series, Sphere of Influence. First book, Sphere of Influence and Kiwi Fiasco. But Sphere of Influence is the first book. Well, the first movie of the first third of the book, basically. So this is up to page 40 so far, and that's about 40 minutes of a 70-minute pilot, sort of a pilot. Yeah, which was the movie. Yeah. As we start off late on the 24th on Monday, we come up with an interesting, weird series of gag jokes about Henderson getting run down by a llama. I'm okay with the rundown by the llama scene, which is off camera anyway. The problem with this scene is she orders him out of the room immediately, and then within seconds, like he's not, wouldn't even be in a turbo lift on his way to the engineering. Within seconds, he's been run down by the llama. Yeah. So how did that happen, and how does he know about it? That he didn't get there. I guess in the episode we weren't thinking about the passage of time. So I think in order to just to fix this gag, he's not on the bridge. That would fix the gag. So he's not on the bridge. He's already gone. And when the captain says, "What happened to Henderson? I sent him down to engineering." That's when we hear more saying, "Oh, he was run down by a llama." Then it makes sense. It's like, oh, he's not there. Then the joke makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit of this is changed from the script to make it more visually punchy. And here, she goes to see Moorer and then goes to see Henderson, and then all of that, and then back the other way. Why would she do that? The captain guy. Better off without saying this. I'm going to do this. So yeah, the Sphere of Influence took 13 years to put together, and we're on 55 pages of 70. Of Sphere of Influence, it took 3 days. So yeah. Well, then we're going to go on to the next two, which are Kiwi Fiasco 1 and 2, which weren't done there. And it does help that there's one guy doing the whole thing. Tonight we've done enough. What it starts out as, you think it's the Wrath of Khan, but then expectations are subverted, and it's not. They team together to get out of the sphere, all enemy mine. It turns from Wrath of Khan to enemy mine, basically. I'm sure that's what he was thinking of. I'm sure that's what we were thinking of back in the day. The original premise before the final script way back in 1990-91 was that Mark Scards or John Yeager only wrote half of it, up to the point in which they blow up they shoot the sphere, which is similar to a Best of Both Worlds. It's an homage, yes. We were Best of Both Worlds, that'd be cool. Fire, ready, more fire, or whatever. He didn't write the second half, so I wrote the second half. And I was like, well, with him along the way to make sure the second half worked. We have the counseling moment. Libby was kind of still around, so it was probably a spoof on her. But yes, at that point, he was in high school, and I was in college, just in college, and so it was. So we didn't know what we were doing. I just made up characters with relationships and put them in a counseling office, because Pine Hill students were always in a counseling office. Okay, it wasn't Megan necessarily, and it's kind of funny. It wasn't Libby necessarily. His character was not him necessarily. He just played him. It wasn't a Mary Sue. Often you have sci-fi people or gamers or fan film people putting themselves in the story way too much, and then being disappointed when
when they're called on it. Say like, oh, this is just about you. You're just putting yourself in it. These characters weren't us. We were just we were trying to be. We were just borrowing names from the Pine Hill era. The ship was called the Josh Braun after the kid who passed away in January 1988. The captain was Steve Clark. He was literally named after the teacher. The characters in it, Sarah was original, but based loosely on those two people, Libby and the other one. Marcat is just Mark's cards, Cal Cat, Marcat Thompson. That's all that is. But yeah, the Zuri were the Ruxy. Originally, they were giant teddy bear people. They looked like Teddy Ruxpin. Yep, we had to change that because we couldn't film that. The dog Asloth is a German Shepherd. He's supposed to be. I tried to make him look like one, but he looks more like a pit bull. That's fine. But yeah, the cat Kimchi is implied in this story to be the daughter of Kimchi, the original character in the story, which would make Clark in the story the god uncle of Kimchi Jr., which is funny. Oh, you have and the dynamic is different in the love scene. Originally, it was Asloth that he was crying out while making love. Asloth's name instead of the girl. This is in the script as Farin, and they changed it, so slightly different script. Makes more sense that it's Farin actually. Just making it not a gay joke, because it kind of was. No, and as if it's Farin, then it's like it's not like a girl. But now that we swap the characters, the line changes entirely its meaning. And we address that the two main characters in this are trans, and that they're trans, and they are identify as a male or female, even though they're opposites. Which is how you would do the gray towel thing in Discovery had they actually done it right. But they didn't. They messed it up. Yeah, that's how you do it right. And they are a little bonkers, but you get the idea from the counseling session in the story that they're not seriously like angry at each other. It's sort of like they're not meant for each other, because that's Henderson or later in the story, but they're gonna stay friends. They don't hate each other. They like each other. They're gonna stay friends. And besides, you have the act breakup. There's always an act in the 3-act story. You have a breakup. However, the story is 70 pages long, so the breakup has to come in the last act. So it's following script conceit. It's interesting that they work together. I like the idea that they have to work together to try and escape. It was enemy mine style. I'm sure Mark Scarce thought that was original, but but it wasn't. But that's it's very Star Trek type of deal. They did it in some episodes in Deep Space Nine later on, the 90s. They did some episodes where the enemy and the good guys had to come together to fight another enemy. Or in this case, it's a device that's going to blow up or something, an energy sphere thing. Is it a weapon? Is it a trap? What is it? No, that could be very cheesy but we do it right in this one, and it's not out to destroy the Earth or anything. It just captures ships. Got to get out of the trap. So it's a mouse trap kind of deal in space. It's a spheroid. He was probably thinking of a Dyson sphere, which in 1990-91 they hadn't aired relics yet. He was thinking of but a mechanical, like not a mechanical one, but an energy version of a Dyson sphere. And he was saying it was originally the size of a star, but then it was shrunk down to a planet. It had the same problem that V'ger in Star Trek: The Motion Picture had. 82 AU or 2 AU is still too darn big. So no, it's a planet. So it wouldn't mess up a planet if it was in a planetary system. It was meant to be a travel device for the guys. I'm assuming they still have some version of the sphere later on throughout this series, the trilogy. We're gonna do the trilogy. Well, we'll see what the first book is like, though. Just the first book. That's what I mean. First book is a trilogy. That's all. I didn't make that clear in the other one. I really wanted to do more of them and then realized book 2 sucks. Same thing here. Book 2 isn't very good. No, I'm doing book 2. Not doing book 2. That's book 1. But book 1, it's going to be like 3 roughly 90-minute movies. And we'll see what happens. If there's a lot left over, there'll be 4. But I don't think there is. I think this is a shorter run than those. And yeah, so yeah, I'm on the set of Vanguards, Avant-Garde, Advanced Guard. Yeah. So note that it is changed from the script. They are not on the bridge when the sphere collapses. They are in the meeting room when the sphere collapses. So it happened off screen. Well, I'd have to show it, but yeah. So yeah, and then they're just reported well, they're meeting on screen. It makes more sense. They wouldn't have the bad guys, their adversaries, go to the bridge and see the command center. That wouldn't make any sense, even in a comedy. Here, have a look at our command center. No, the meeting room. Oh, it makes more sense. And then they go on the away team. They go down to the planet. But let's do this first. Yeah, so now we're going to go on to the alien bridge where they find the canoptic jars. And yeah, let's redress the set for that. So this is a temporary reprieve from this for a couple hours. I wanted to do this other scene all the way through, and there isn't time at the moment, so I'm gonna do that a little later. And yeah, we're very close to the end of Sphere of Influence, which really is only in the script 71 minutes or 71 pages. It's about it's about an hour. It's less than an hour, I think, if you put it all together. Yeah, so, and then there's the other 2 hours, of course, the Kiwi fiasco, but that's later. That was stuff that was not filmed. See, the original was meant to be a pilot, and then there were going to be episodes after that in a series. What we did with Canary Space, we essentially did the same thing. Canary Space was let's do an animated version of the first season, was encompassing the first book, so we covered the first book. Now we're doing that here. We're going to do the first season book of this. So this is the whole first season. It's also of note, note that the set looks different from the set when they go down to the alien ship looks different from the one that was sort of a gag in Canary Space where they go to Red Angel. It's another one of the ships. You don't need to worry about it. And there's some gags in there. There's some, yeah. but it's not supposed to be them. It's just a gag. So like it being a gag the other way, it's this way. Yeah, it's not supposed to be the same ship. It's a different one. How would they find the exact same vessel that activated the thing? Maybe several of them that can activate the thing, the sphere. Yeah, space station kind of thing. So yeah, and that one probably blew up anyway because they kind of disintegrated the. So that one's probably gone. So this is another one that happens to be there. Yeah. A slightly less powerful one that they found. Yeah. So, looking at this, is it punchier to keep them in this room rather than separate them right here and have them on the ship talking in the view screen? I think it's punchier to have it in the room, but maybe it's not. The weapons and they probably should be saying that to each other directly right now. Like, okay, what's your plan? Let's move them around a little bit, but I want to make this a movie as opposed to they're talking in rooms and that to each other script. So this is a revision of page 62, middle. To have them talking directly to the Zuri before they go over to their ship, which is just punchier. Okay. We found out what that weird theme song we've been humming was. It's the alternate theme song to Next Generation. That's all it was. We thought it was some other thing, but anyway. So here we have. Back to other thing. It's a little late starting this, but I had to go through this first. There's 100 more pages of this story for book 1 to see whether movie 1
in book one. So the book one is 513 pages long. And typically of these, we do a trilogy where we adapt a season of a show into something. The other one turned out to be, when we did Canary one, it turned out to be there was 4 movies in there because it was a little longer than 500 pages. It was longer than that. This one is a little shorter, so it'll probably be 3. Adapting this will be interesting because it plays like Lower Decks, and this was written before Lower Decks was even a gleam in the eye of Mr. McMahon and the other people at the show. It's not Lower Decks. There's even a crew orgy. We obviously cannot film a crew orgy. We're not doing that. So no, we're not doing that part. So those of you who would be disappointed seeing the making of, no, we're not including that. This story was comprised of 5 or 6 unused episodes from season 1 and rewritten as part of the Prospectors series in 2001. That never aired. There was one season of Starcrackers. It was said and done, and then there was in the middle of season 2 there was a said and done. In season 2, it was a time travel season, and it was confusing and muddled, and some of that became Space Time Eye. We made another series out of it, gave it to another show, and stuff that we didn't use in Canary Space became Space Time Eye as well, and the short stories became that as well. So some of it got reused. This is not time travel here. This is just a 6-month adventure across space to other planets in the series. Sort of like a tour of the universe. They're not really going to do that here because that makes no sense. It'd be too similar to the cat story of the cat planet, where it was like 3 or 4 months on the cat planet. That'd kind of be something similar in terms of time that's going by. In this one, I don't want to do that. I want to keep the first novel and season, and not drag it on into, that just doesn't make sense. There's a couple of crew characters' birthdays in it. We don't necessarily need to establish that either. That's why they have a party and then a crew orgy. Well, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that. So there are some things that will not be in the story. These things will not be in the story. They might mention them, but they're not. It sets up the rest of season 1 in the story, but it's careful not to give away elements of later on in season 1. There were 8 original episodes of season 1. This was adding roughly 5 new ones. So there was first season. There was time travel season. Then time travel season was rejected 6 months later. So there were written stories that were in-house only, and they rejected the time travel season. This is too confusing. Don't ever republish this. Once was enough. Don't do it again. So we did. It was republished as something else. It didn't work. So we tried to do novella books based on it, sort of like how Pocket Books did Star Trek books and specials and annuals, and we did some novella books. That's season 2 of the novels. It was all the novella books of the novel. It's just 3 of the novellas together: I, Clark, Rebels, and 2 others. And then they rewrote some of the elements of the other later seasons to match the novel when writing the book version of this in 2021. And that was before Lower Decks, so we weren't inspired by Lower Decks at all. It hadn't come out yet. It was before that. It just happens to have a similar orgy. We're not going to do that part. Not going to. You couldn't film that anyway. Action figures, you can't make them naked. It's not going to work. There's the conspiracy thing. It's a political intrigue, space drama thing. At times, it has some jokes that are funny. At times, it takes us with the Kiwis, the spaceship in it, called the Kiwi Fiasco. No time travel. It was meant to be in the 3rd series. Season 3 was set 10 years later, because it was 10 years later. It was about 2021. We jumped ahead in the series even further so that we could have the kids of the main crew show up. I don't know why we did. I don't know why I did that. I do not know why I did that. This just didn't work then. That didn't work then. It didn't. It works now. It didn't work then. Now that it's been 25 years, it works now. It'd be their kids. It works now, but it didn't work then. So it was ahead of its time. There was going to be a spin-off where they were on a space station called Starcracker's Paradise. That ended up being printed twice and then never again. That was lost. That is not included in the novel. I think the elements of it appeared in Space Time I, the story. Prospectors had this sequel prequel thing using some of the rejected episodes. There was a reason they were rejected, though. They didn't work. You rewrote them. I rewrote them, yes, but back in the day. But yeah, there was a reason, and they are well done as rewritten. But yeah, 6 months passing? No, almost a year. No, originally the reason that happened was because we screwed up. Or I screwed up, I guess. The timeline got screwed up. I jumped ahead. I put an accidental. It's 2192, and instead of meaning 2191. That was a typo. It wasn't. It was just a typo. I should have just changed the dates to say that it was. Yeah. What was I doing? Should have just changed the dates. Okay. It's not. Yeah. And then it's a classified mission, and it has these admiral guys. Yeah. Evil admirals are in it. Great. Classic sci-fi trope thing. Try to trap the Vanguard. The Vanguard, though, now that we've seen 70 minutes of it, 70 pages or 70 minutes, we know that they are, we know what they are and how they behave and how they act. They're not really a typical Star Trek crew. They're more like if they had a Space Marine, like Mako contingent from Enterprise, and they had a space mission and they were like flying around. It's kind of like that. That'd be Makos. Space Marines, space cops, space UN cop guys. But not the best. The whole joke is that they are kind of incompetent and are guessing at everything they do. Yeah, the Kiwi fiasco. Yeah, so take out the elements of it that obviously don't make sense. I think you'll find them when you get there. We get more of Henderson being a douche and why. We get more of the other characters being weird and why. We get the characters, but they don't go beyond their. And there was another prequel sequel one, the Mission to Rebia, I think it was called, which was made later as well. That one also later on in the series was remade from the flashbacks and flash forwards of I, Clark was the name of the novella, and a little bit of two of the other ones, Rebel Ship and the other one show up. They took the flashbacks out and just made them, this is when it actually took place, instead of doing flashbacks. I don't know what I was doing. I can't, as, it kind of makes sense in a book, but it didn't make sense to do it as a movie. It's confusing as a movie. It plays like the Eternals movie. That we found out why that doesn't work in the Eternals movie. When they did flashbacks showing them all through the ages, it's like, we don't care. Let's just show them kicking butt now. Just show a little bit of that, maybe. But yeah, don't imply that ancient aliens came to Earth and did stuff in the past, and we're going to show it. That's just no. That doesn't work here either. So yeah, there isn't some overarching theme. They don't become the superheroes of the galaxy. They don't become Guardians of the Galaxy either. They're just like incompetent space cops with fun-loving attitudes. Some of them snarky. Yeah, they're not meant to accomplish their missions. Some of the later novellas kind of messed that up and had them accomplishing their missions, and Clark would eventually have be a governor on a planet and stuff like that. And Mark Scards was really opposed to that. Said, well, no, he wouldn't be. No, just because the teacher became somebody after being a teacher doesn't mean the guy, his name is, his namesake is going to be that. Why would he be that? Yeah, that makes sense. No, he wouldn't be good at what he was doing. He would be chased off by a mob of angry people. They wouldn't want him to be. In this version, we've gender swapped them though, and given different motivations, and tried to fix. So we'll be going to set up the next scenes in the film, and I jokingly said behind the scenes, it'd be we're not going to do this. It'd be funny if they just replaced Clark without saying that he was replaced. It's just another figure entirely through the whole thing and just not say anything. It'd be kind of funny. We're not doing it. Not doing that. It's a joke. Anyway, let's do on to the next thing. The Darren thing. Yeah, whatever. Or maybe that actor was supposed to be the girl that passed in Hollywood. No, she's No, she's not. Clark has more binds than track. Anyway, so it's neither of those people. There's no actors in this. There's nobody in Hollywood in this. No SAG, AFTRA, nothing like that. Anyway, next.
So yeah, behind the scenes, note that this bit has some changed lines. We're not going to do the weird sex joke at the end. I'm not sure what's going on here with this. Apparently, this segment was written in 2001 along with a prospectors that was meant as a flashback. References 2001 as well. We won't be doing that. Not as a conspiracy or anything. It just is mentioned for some reason, even though they're in another universe. Even why would they reference September whatever? They wouldn't. That makes no sense. Anyway, so let's go on to do the next scene. Yeah. So. Weird scenes like this one are probably the reason that this is actually shorter than it looks, because we're not filming a lecture on prescription like adult people in the late 20th century or early 21st century reference to 9/11. What in the heck was I writing? There's nothing bad about it. It's just weird. Doesn't need to be in there. Why? Yeah, 25 years later. Why? Why reference that? It had nothing to do with anything. It's not connected to anything. Okay, so yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah, note as well on page 75 that Asloth is not supposed to be in that scene. I don't know why he'd be there. Consulting the general, and I don't know what's going on with some of this. Yeah. So no, it's just the general and Schmidt and general. Okay, let's do that scene next. So a script revision. I would like to bring the pertinent members of the crew from the next scene to this spot, because story-wise, we're literally 6 minutes into it, and the bridge wouldn't make sense for them to immediately be on the bridge, but so, yeah. They just got to the planet, so. Yes, it is a short month. We're on the 28th, and this is the several counselor scenes similar to Voyager's episode, a book, Mosaic, which had all the characters in it. This is kind of a spoof. So let's get on with this and not waste any more time. It's already 2, so let's go. Okay, there are 2 training program scenes that I would like to omit that have nothing to do with the story other than Schmidt gets to talk to Asloth. We don't need that. Let's just go on to the meeting room scene with the Colonel talking to the lady over subspace. So, ignoring the that it's not on the shuttle, they're still on the bridge. Yeah, so we're still going with the before they go down. We're not filming any shuttle scenes. That's too much money. We're cheap. Ah! This is going to be a night shoot. Get a little bit more of this, just a little more, because we're at 109 of 120, and that's 10 pages. So I want to knock out these 10 pages, and then yeah, go from there. So. Okay, we are going to stop here for the night. It's 10 o'clock. We're stopping production right now on the film. It's late. We're stopping production. Evening. We'll see you tomorrow. We're not on any kind of schedule. There's no reason to continue that tonight after this point. Did a lot. Okay, this is the shuttle action scene with Michelle Dwerak, who is never mentioned again. I think she's mentioned offhandedly later on. We can't film this. It cannot be filmed. So this next scene, I'm just not filming it. So yeah, they get him back on the ship. Gravity generator, patrol ship. Pleasure, you can see her float hopelessly. I'd rather die. And then she dies. It looks like, yeah, she dies. But, yeah. Dwan Derek. 30 pages. It's a little under that. 27 pages. 27 pages. Yeah. After the planet, they go to 2 other planets randomly, and Zotham joins them, and they don't need to go to 2 other planets. Let's have this little battle take place in the Lydio system. It makes more sense. They just haven't left yet because they kind of can't. Yeah, that makes more sense dramatically for the story. Why would they? Yeah, the other 2 places are just exactly the same. So, yeah. Anyway, so they've left this. Yeah, I'm gonna chime in here behind the scenes. Yeah, actually making this all take place in the solar system for the last 30 minutes makes sense because there's no way they had time to fix the engines. All of these events have transpired over 25 hours and possibly, and they just don't have time to have fixed anything. So her response is not, yes, the engines are fixed. Her response is, no, they're not. And we're going to, and then there's, yeah, because that would make more sense. And then they don't need to go to another planet. And then we can just keep this story in one place and not zip around all over the universe. And also, zipping to another planet to have it be the same information going on. Why don't you have it be this planet? Yeah. There's a scene that's omitted here. Henderson talking to Roberts. Just about wanting to become a gigolo. We don't need that. We don't need that. That doesn't need to be in there. So we're skipping a scene. Going on to 135. Okay, page 38 and 139. They mentioned that Cunningham has found them, and they're having the prelude to the bridge orgy. I'm not doing that. I'm not filming the bridge orgy. I'm not doing that. We're not going to do that. Yeah. So, yeah. Not doing that. Looks like... Yeah. And then Janoli leaves the story with with Magoon's people. Leaves the ship. Yeah. A note from I realize that they're trying to do the Elysian girls thing here, but Alicia Petty looks more like Dr. Crusher than because you used a Dr. Crusher doll. You could go back and change that, but that would be really awkward, and it'd be weird if there was another Janeway. So just change the line here, and she's not an exact clone. She's a sibling in the story. So, making of, we decided to do a little bit of night shoot to finish the scene that we were working on before Mark's cards came over. We didn't show that. He's on his way to Japan in a little bit. And we won't see him for 2 more weeks. The movie will probably be out before his premiere, and he'll get to see it from there, I guess. So yeah, so let's do this. Note in the editing, I have removed a scene on 165-66, which involved Kimchi walking up to them and calling Henderson delusional. I think it's, when this story was written in 2000, that's funny to reiterate the same information again, but she already did that earlier. So, the script, the rewrite from the 2019. We don't need that joke. In other words, the thing being written on his butt it should just end right there with that doesn't need to have Kimchi walk up and go, "You're delusional." It just doesn't need that. It doesn't. So we're not using that scene. Yeah, it's just. Yeah, it's redundant, basically. Making of. Note that I am changing a line where they set this up for prospectors. I don't think we're ever going to get to book 3 of this series. No, we're not going to get to prospectors. No, that'd be like 20 movies later. Not doing that. So let's go on the rest of this. So here's another edit, making of this scene where on 171, 172 we have sort of a joke about him being weird, like the other story, redundant. We don't need that. And it's Vanguard Day of this story, because the whole thing took place over a year in the script. But we're not using it over a year. We're saying it's just a couple months because we don't want to go to like 5 different planets and do all that and then say, oh, it's Josh Braun Day, which is January 1988 to 2488. It's Josh Braun Day in the story. That's just weird and it doesn't make sense. It really, and even for Silly Track, it doesn't make sense. So we're gonna go with this next scene where on 172, 173, we get some more on the conspirators. It's a cop show. And they do a space jump. We don't need that. I want just the discussion with the other people before they leave dock. And that's pretty much over at that point. So, yeah. Okay, and this is the last page of dialogue in Vanguards the movie. So, here we go. The last page of dialogue in Vanguards the movie. That's the wrap on the set of The Kiwi Fiasco, Part 2 of Sphere of Influence 1, 2, and 3. 3 episodes done as a novel. As a movie! Yay! As a first half part section of a movie. There's some shots of the set, the characters, the scenes, and the get-go, the planet Hell, and there we go. Yeah, so... Production is just wrapped on Sphere of Influence, Kiwi Fiasco, and Kiwi Fiasco Part 2. It's Calicat the Calicatster. We were nearly done last night and completed print photography the middle of the day here on the set on Friday. Gonna do lunch and assemble some of the video. Probably discuss during the assembling of the video others behind the scenes. The behind the scenes of this second part is much shorter than the first part. I like behind the scenes footage, and I record hours and hours of it, and you just have to suffer through it. Because this is not on Blu-ray, because we don't do Blu-rays anymore. So we have to just put it all up, and you can watch it. It was a 8-day shoot to finish the last part of this. There was a little bit of a hiatus. The original movie back in the 1990s was not finished. We finished an hour of it. Basically, most of Sphere of Influence was finished. Then added another 30 minutes of intermittent scenes we couldn't shoot, and then added on to it. Then we get roughly 90 minutes with the other footage tacked onto it and tacked onto the ending to finish it. The original script was only one half of the story. It was basically a spoof of Best of Both Worlds from Next Generation, and it ended with him going Ready Schmidt Fire and Ready Clark Fire or whatever. That was it. So you could tell that the second half of that was like, they're doing Next Gen. If Canary Space was the equivalent of a Fort Apache type of Western, Deep Space Nine type of Western, actually, kind of thing, then and the Next Gen is Bonanza. This is also Bonanza. This is also the Western, outgoing Western wagon train thing with the ancient alien ship there. The Kiwi Fiasco story. Mark's Cards was on his way to Japan, but before yesterday, we discussed the Kiwi Fiasco story and the ending, in that they don't actually get
the prize they're looking for. So it's kind of it's kind of like the ending of Reservoir Dogs, then, a little bit. Kind of like the ending of Pulp Fiction as well. That the bad guys don't get away with it. But yeah, that's what it is. But they also opened the door for at least one of the bad guys to show up again later, because the bad guys, conspirators, could have blown up the bad guy ships at the end, because this is behind the scenes, and it could be that they tricked them, that they escaped. And Clark and crew are not supposed to necessarily be good and competent at their jobs. They're like the space company, Red Letter Media. Yeah, that's just probably why they would never have us on the show on Red Letter Media, because they would be like, well, we kind of got the idea from your space cop thing you did. Yeah. But we would be okay with that. We'd be like, oh, no, yeah. Your character, Rich, just from, your space cop story that came out later was inspired by Starcrackers and Space Precinct and stuff. That's fine. So was ours. Space Precinct. Yeah, that's fine. But no, it's not. So there's the whole, where's the whole gamut of the whole thing? They get the Kiwi ship. It's like right in front of them. It shows up, and they got to go out there and go right in front of them. And the original script, it was 2 different planets they went to, and then they go to Crail at the end and they find it. And this one, it's all in the Lydio system in the second act, because that made more sense. And then there's like a trial in the Lydio system that made more sense. We get a cameo by the Ayer Worf as somebody else in there. A lot of people are playing somebody else in this one. He was meant to be in there. There were other references and things to the other shows in there. It's cute. Tiabi is playing the mother of the Carrie Dark character, because she kind of is, and that's fun. If Carrie Dark is Penny DeLark, she's Ariana Foster playing that. Yeah. And these are made-up characters, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, just they're not. They could be their descendant. Just so we know that, because there was a lot of talk about that back and forth in that other sketch thing. Yeah, those are not people from anything. Their action figure shows up and meets the other action figure. Yeah, we know who they are. That's it's Jane Piedmont Foster and all that stuff. A Star Trek like story that goes on and does its thing, has its and the cultures are mixed up in the idea that the different planets did these other things, and that's kind of in the DNA of the stories that were written in the 90s based on them. Even though the movie took 13 years to finish, because it jumped 12 years to go to the next act and finish the thing in 2005, and then to 2011, and then put it out. There were earlier versions of it that people could have been aware of, including Star Trek. They totally could have been aware of it, and the designs and everything. Could have been aware of it. Yeah, they probably were. And so yeah, the Zuri could totally steal cultural appropriation from other groups, as well as the Terran Stars people, and they could totally have them wearing goofy clothes that don't match anything. That are just combined, like, oh, here's a gypsy princess, but he's also wearing a turban, and here's the newer version that's different though is here's a guy wearing having a Turkish hat, and he's not Turkish, but he just likes wearing a Turkish hat, but yes, or something like that. It doesn't occur in this so much because I fixed it, but the idea that the genders is swapped is kind of funny too. So that's in there too. So they're referring to yes sir and yes ma'am randomly to dudes and guys and girls, and captain and just mixing it up, because they don't mind, because they're completely free about that. It's cool. It's woke. But yes. But yeah, it was the experience of doing the whole thing, putting the this story together. That's fine. It's yeah. Dorothy Dark, Mrs. Dark, gets replaced by Kerrigan, and she shows up and goes like I'm this other mother of the other character, and it's not supposed to be her. It was always supposed to be Tabby, the Tasha Yar, the old Tasha Yar lady, is clearly the young Yar's mom. I didn't intend to switch them or film them differently or whatever. Yeah. And also at one point, Dr. Crusher, another Dr. Crusher figure, a different one, an old one, is playing Petia as well. So either the Petia family and the Dark family are involved directly in everything, and they have clones and sisters and stuff running around, which would be confusing, or there's something else going on in that the Kerrigan Dark is related to Kimchi is the lady. And I believe the simplest solution, the easiest solution to this is the simplest one. If they reappear in later stories, just have to clarify that they're married, and that McPherson and Kerrigan Dark are just they're a married couple. That'd be the easiest way to solve that, because then you could say, oh, she's Kimchi's aunt, but she's also, what's her name? Mom. The other one is her mom and stepmom. So I just thought I would chime in there, solution to that, because she looks like the other one, like in that Baby Driver movie. Looks like the judge. Also, there's another scene where there's also the judge in the other scene in the story. There's a judge who judges Silverstone and Nelson, and it appears to be that it is Zossam Ginoli in disguise, and she's just playing the judge. Why not? It is her. Yeah, or him, the Valentine Q. So these characters playing themselves. So let's kind of get at the end of that commentary. So the characters playing those characters, it technically isn't an error. They've been playing both sides, and they're playing the other characters. They're doing the story within the story, behind the scenes of the conspiracy. Because it's impossible to keep a conspiracy a secret. And yes, we loved the idea of years ago when we wrote the Kiwi Fiasco that that Clark and crew do not succeed in their mission, and not only do they lose the Kiwi the ship, but at the end they witness the space fleet arriving to take the prisoners away. They know that Silverstone and Nelson are on the prison ships, and they're going in separate directions. And the Kiwi shows up too. They grab the ship, take it to the planet. And that shows up too. It's called the Kiwi. It's just what they call the spaceship because it looks like a fruit. It's floating in space, a fruity thing. It's not the ship of destiny from. It's not the teacup thing from the other thing. It's more like the fruit planet. It's not fruity itself. It's not gay, but it could be, I guess. No, it's not. It's just that it's a weird looking alien ship. So it's a big pit floating around. It blows up. The enemy ships blow up. But then we get a call from Lavaho, who is also related to Nervuk in some way, her friend or something. And she says, we meant to do what you saw the ship blow up. That's what we meant to do to you. And and you're going to meet up with Petty and them again later and all that. We didn't want you to be destroyed. We wanted you to witness this we wanted you to witness this so that you would not come after us. Ha ha, boom. Yeah. That's the way that works. It's an interesting idea that in the series, in that, because it wouldn't be. And also, this series, this is Vanguards, doesn't need an ending where they go, oh, the Star Trek people show up to help you join the Federation of Planets. It's implied from the background and stuff in it that they are a neutral world and that they're aware of the Federation. They reference the Numissian Latori from the other story, from the Breeders of the Latori from the other series, from Legends and Vanguards and Legacy. They reference some of the other planets from Legacy and even far back as Mega Rune and some of the other ones. They mention some of the TMS and stuff is also mentioned. So they are a draconian planet and similar to Earth, and they have colonies, and they're similar to the Federation but smaller, and they are a power in the galaxy, and of no jurisdiction to the Federation. So if the Federation showed up in Vanguards, unlike in Canary Space when they were in trouble the whole time, they were in trouble. The Federation's going to help them. In Vanguard Space, they kind of don't want their help. So yeah, if the Federation showed up, they'd be like, yeah, you guys were here 70 years ago with the Chimera, and you kind of messed up things. Yeah, you're involved. Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of funny. So they probably will not have an ending scene where they go, "Oh, here's the Federation. We've come to help you out." They would probably reject them. Yeah. So it's a different Earth. It's not the Earth from Canary Space, but it's in the same universe as Canary Space, and it's 2480 something. And this one too, as well, 2488. And also, I thought to explain, even though there's no point in explaining the jump, the time jump in this story, Kiwi Fiasco, because I was looking it over here. The time jump in Kiwi Fiasco is a year, because less than a year, 8 months, because 8 to 9 months, because originally simply screwed up on the dates for the star dates. They'd had star dates originally, screwed up on the dates, and had the next episode after all of that take place a year later. The second episode after the pilot was a year later. Why? Screwed up. I just didn't. I could have fixed it, and there were several rewrites over the years. I could have fixed it. I could have said, okay, it's actually really earlier. And yeah, they don't appear to have transporters. They produce shuttles. They don't appear, or at least they don't use them. So they're not quite the Orville. Not really. If you can mention the Orville, but they're not. They're not really the Orville. They're by making it, okay, and then there's Josh. By making it that way, it's not that. Also the Josh Braun Day, Vanguard Day, or Josh Braun Day. So, in brief, I think I've explained that in the other making of. Originally, the ship was called the Joshua Braun, and it was named after a kid that we knew in high school, who was. It turns out he was a junior, not a senior yet, at Pine Hill, and he was about 16, and he was killed in an auto accident. And we were about the same age. About the same age, and he was a junior. And in January of '88, thus launching he was in the Silly Trek role-playing game. He was the most charismatic character at the time at the school. He also got to go to regular school. There's a school for kids with learning disabilities called Pine Hill. And he also got to go to regular school. So he was in 2 other regular schools, and he also went to those. And he's very smart, and he knew math. We didn't know math. What their planets are and all that. The experience of that was interesting. That there was this weird dream that I had that the night of his death, in which he showed up and he said something to the effect of this is the formula for success, to do this thing. We didn't think that, like, at the time, that it didn't make sense. It was a dream, There's a 16-year-old kid make up this dream about, combine Silly Trek and Transformers and do the secret of success. Thing. Jello salad is a joke was thrown in there because it's random and weird. Pine Hill invented random and weird long before bloggers did. It's YouTube poop before YouTube poop. We can't take the credit though because we weren't the only ones. Definitely geek and nerds. But yes, Josh Braun. So the ship, we named the ship after him. We named several, but the main ship in the story was going to be named for him. It was going to be Clark's friend Joshua, just to make it make sense. Steve Clark, the teacher who we just stole his name and put it in the story, wasn't necessarily supposed to be Steve Clark. In the Starcrackers movie, Mark's cards or John played him. John Yeager played him, and I played some of the other ones, including Thompson and Raxler and a bunch of other people, and invented new characters that came off from that, like Silly Kelly and Clint Cowpoke, Calicat, and all that stuff. That's where all those came from. And they all came from the Secret of Success thing. And although it isn't really a secret of success, many years later now in 2025, but it is interesting that the number one thing that was mentioned in that 1988 dream. Well, there are two things: Transformers and Star Trek. Do Transformers and Star Trek stuff. Basically, that's what he said. And that's all we do on this channel: Transformers and Star Trek. And that's the channel. So there you go. And it's successful though. That thing. We're not influencers, but it's interesting that we're local ones. We go to the conventions. There's Calcat. There's local. Probably one of the 100 or so subscribers. Yeah, it's an inside job. It's one of the two subscribers. One of the subscribers, the two subscribers. Ha ha ha. There were more back in the there you go. They YouTube deleted a bunch of people back in the day. Yeah, we were almost up to like higher views. But yeah, so Josh Braun. His eulogy stuff is still out there on there. And Braun is also the German spelling of Brown, which makes him indirectly a distant cousin, which is kind of weird. But yeah, there was another kid too called Mike Slater, who, unlike in Distant Cousins, Canary Space, I made him black. He was a white kid, actually. I made him into Bryce. I made him the other kid from Pine Hill. I made him into Bryce. I'm not sure, or maybe Lonnie. I made him Lonnie. That's right, Lonnie. In the version, but no, he should have been. Yeah, I made Moore Lonnie as well. So it's a different Lonnie. Lonnie and Bryce. Bryce in Canary Space and Lonnie in this one. Not really either of those guys, but just that's kind of what I was thinking of. That's what I was thinking. And Schmidt is clearly Tim Cantrell. And Raxler in this version is Tim Cantrell, which is funny. We switched. Because in the original, I was Raxler and Tim was Sadre. I switched them for this one. Also, yeah. So, in this version. Mike Slater was a little skinny little white dude with a curly black hair. I don't know what happened to him after junior high, really. He's running around. He disappeared off the map. The other little skinny kid, the skinny little blonde kid, Jason Cranston, who was in the Robotech, as well, the early version of it, Robotech, the Robosilly, which was the precursor to that. Then the Transformer one with Tim and Jim and the other cast, Angie. That was the Robotech one, the Transformers one, game at the school. He is around. He was found in the mid 2000s. In the early part of the decade, and considered me a Robotech guru or something. So not really. I just went to conventions. But after my Robotech fan films have come out and everything, I'm pretty much expert on it. And Toy Galaxy, or Secret Galaxy now it's called, Secret Galaxy. Why did they change that? Toy Galaxy has referenced my Robotech archives on their channel. Yeah, this guy knows all about Robotech. So this other guy referenced. It's kind of funny. I could use more subscribers. Anyway, so yeah. So there's going to be Josh Braun Day in the story, and they're going to reference Josh Braun Day at the end of this episode. And it's like, what, really? What? How? Why would if they're aliens living after the other story in the years later? Like, how would they even reference that as a thing? But there's a Silly Trek character that's called Josh Braun. They don't reference it in the story. We took it out, but there is an episode of the Legacy series. It's the story arc through the Legacy series where they go and they're trying to find the youths from the planet Miriam. And eventually, they find some of them living on a strange planet. I believe it's the original Valentine's Day episode, like 2 years ago. Yeah, it's the original one. I think that's the one. Yeah, and they go there and they're like, and Josh Braun is there. Silly Trek has reformatted him, and his mind and personality was uploaded into the Cillian realm by the Q. Of course, he explains how that happened. He said he was created the same way that the Libyan the Elijah, the rewritten version. Remember the Elijah was. There was somebody before the Elijah. It was Josh. And the Q took pity on us as children, and also to humiliate Picard, because he thought, let's have another kid show up. And the Q took pity on us and made the first Cillian, which was Josh Braun, and put him on the holodeck so he appears as a holodeck character. And that's the guy that they encounter in the story. In 2405, I believe, 2405, they encounter him. He's living on a planet, and he wants to go into the other dimension. And then there's the Elysian or the Libyan, and there was this other connection with the other ones, but we don't need to worry about it. They wanted to connect the Petias to the Elysian and the Libyan. That's why I went back to that, and that the Petians were part of that whole group, and the Queen is her twin sister in the other version, and this is actually some of them. But in this rewrite version, you have made Crusher the Petian lady, and so it's her sibling, not her twin sister, and her sibling is their older friend. So it all works out. It doesn't need to be them directly, and kind of can't be. So it's just other Elijahs, other people that follow the group of Elijah. That's all. It's other Tina McClenna's and other Libby McClenna's on the planet. They're just followers of her group, which means that connects it with Cillian space as well. So the story is directly connected with not only the fearful symmetry, but the Arbiter as well, but not necessarily shapeshifters. They're not shapeshifters. So that's the connection. Anyway, so this is making of behind the scenes on the movie, the film, the Vanguards. Went back into the set. We have footage of fleets flying around and other ships, and plenty of stock footage of our own stuff to use for the other fleet ships in the story. So we had to get Vanguard and Luxon footage from the good guy and the bad guy ship in the sphere, and essentially copied what we did on the set of the Robotech thing in 2016, and also earlier footage from 2012, kind of similar to that on the Chimera movie for the special effects, and then later in 2018, 2019 on the Chimera film. We essentially copied using at least two replicas of the original Halloween lights that rotate around. Some of that we had a Disney stick as well from 2015 for some of that later stuff. I filmed a lot of extra footage so that you can put it together in there and add it to the Sphere story. The Sphere story is basically just the two ships in the Red Angel system, or in the Sphere, and then the Red Angel system. There's plenty of other stock footage of ships flying around a ship graveyard in a red nebula thing that we've used even in the last movie, so just use it here. There's other stuff, other things. You don't need to overthink it at all. It's there. Use it. The alien base could be the weird red star cylinder megastructure that we used before in Transtech. Use that. The doesn't look anything like a kiwi, but that's fine because it isn't really. He just called it that. Clark just called it that. As for the other appearances of the thing, I do have those little silvery objects in the background of the base. You could use one of those as it, but it really doesn't look like it. Don't worry about it. Just there's Spearwall footage from one of those light balls from the original, but also somebody recorded a light ball as well, their own version. We have a fan film version of that. If you can use that too, but it doesn't look as good as the stuff that did around. Originally, the original Starcrackers footage was outtake footage, which inspired the Therian surf juggling line, was that Tim's pool, the Cantrell's old pool, had a shimmery look to it because it hit the bottom of the pool where they had a lot of shapes at the bottom of the pool. We thought it would be cool to film the space models over the pool. They constructed these cardboard models of the two ships. Of course, they immediately fell into the pool and were destroyed. And that's the theory in Surf Junk. They were on hangers and they fell into the pool. It looked very, very, very fake. Later on, the Chimera movies improved that. Had either me or Mark's cards, shining lights on the walls with the shimmering things from Halloween Store and Spirit Store, and I believe also Spencer Gifts, which merged with Spirit later. So it was that. Yeah, they were the same people, or at least Spencer Gift put out the Spirit Store, so they're like the same people. There was yeah, so these are the same old stuff. The old props still worked. Brought them out because they were just used on 2018 Robotech. They were bound to be still in use. They weren't used much on Mush. All Transformers Mush. We didn't really use them. We used some of the newer ones, the Halloween ones, flashy ones and some flashlights for the effect shots. It's all lights in house, in camera light, shining, not in camera, but shining lights on the walls. And doesn't look as good, but when you have, you can't actually animate the thing. Let the lights animate it. And you kind of tell that the lens is a little dirty, which is funny. Oh. So there's the ships looked good. We'll have to watch the test footage later. Since this is more post-production making, behind the scenes, it's more for the rest of it. You could tack it on the end of the making of if you want to, and expand it a little bit if you really want to, because it's only half an hour for part 2 for the Kiwi Fiasco. You could add this to there and say what we were doing with the ships and everything. And the other ships, we didn't simply relabel them. There were 4 ships constructed using the Galinsky techniques in the Galinsky class. And they are there are 4 very similar models, and they were placed in there. And also we built some sort of later ones that were a different technique. These are the space carrier ships. Yeah, love that. Anyway, so we have that, and the other models you can just use stock footage of the California and the Nevada and the cargo ship and the grinder ship, and from the other story, from Canary Space. Why not? They don't have names on them. They also the Harbinger, but you probably can't use the 2 the 3 Letamok ships, because that would be confusing. Because the Zuri are clearly like Orions, and they're of course Draconians as well, but they have Starfleet-like ships. So they don't have Canary ships, and they don't have Letamok ships. They have Starfleet-like ships. Fleet. They're almost very similar. They're probably a colony of Starfleet. And they don't really care for them so much. They're on the border. So, as I said in the other comments on there, if they met Starfleet, they probably wouldn't like each other. And it would be different than the Canary Space ending. And I like it that they're not the best and the brightest. They're the leftovers. They're the mop-up crew. They're the guys that go in and the worker, trucker, space cop guys. Not like Red Letter Media space cop, but space cop guys. The space precinct. It sounds like a space precinct. A space cruiser would be like a space precinct or a naval space command vessel. And if they sent out shuttles, those would be patrol cars. It would be a space precinct, essentially, which was a TV show as well. It's not even remotely similar, except that it's called. NUTS is National United Terran Stars, and they don't see the irony that their name of their planet's name for their space police force is nuts. It's like put right up there on the hulls, nuts. In 1988, it refers to Josh Braun, and they're apparently from the colonies created by the memory of that character, that guy. Anyway. Okay. We're 2/3 of the way through editing the movie. Space Vanguards avant-garde movie, Advanced Guard. There's a first pass and second pass. Second pass, you usually catch everything. You watch the second pass. You discover that's kind of the third pass where you find like the little stakes and errors. And then there should technically be a fourth one just to go over when you add in the special effects, which we're using almost no special effects from the other stuff, using some of the ship shots of nondescript ships from the web, but mainly from the Canary Space story that weren't the other Canary ships, weren't identified as Canary ships, and some of the alien ships in the story. The spheres footage is all new from Pixel Bay and Pixels, the shimmery lights and stuff. But the special effects space footage is stuff we did in the house by shining some lights on some walls, and then and running it through stippled walls, which was probably a bad idea, and then running it through several special effects filters in Photoshop 15 to make it not look like the walls were stippled. Probably should have just filmed just one of these walls and just done that, but yeah. Considering how it was completely distorted, it should be just fine. It looks like the Transtech footage anyway at this point, so that'll work. Yeah, so 2/3 through the rendering the large chunks of the film. Usually you get like 4 hours of material, and you cut it down to about a half an hour of usable footage, because it's a lot of retakes, and usually you do like a rehearsal take of each line about 3 times. So it's a triples, quadruples the length. And sometimes you screw up and you have to do that line. If it's a little bit of a speech, that line has to be done several times. In some cases, it looks extremely funny. It's a witty, clever. There are scenes that are laugh out loud funny. Especially fun is the 52 minutes of the Sphere of Influence. And earlier in the commentary thing on this, the last segment of this thing, for the making of, I said, "Oh, you should separate them into 2." No, don't do that. Sphere of Influence, although the pacing is a little different with Kiwi Fiasco, because they pull back and they have the characters doing stuff, the pacing fits when you see the whole thing together. It totally fits. It matches nearly flawlessly with certain ones. The jokes are a little more adult and set up and a little more matured, but that's because the Kiwi Fiasco was written 10 years after the original stories, and clearly you understood the characters better, did them. Yeah, and there's a couple of modern like ad-libs in there that were not in the 2000s version, because they didn't exist yet, or we didn't know about them yet. There's a Tommy Wiseau crack in there, but it doesn't go too far. There's other cracks. There's Me Too cracks in there, even though technically the Me Too movement hadn't started yet. There's lines about that in there. There's a fiction story. And yeah, it has to take place during that. And they're probably at a different Earth colony planet thing than the one in Canary Space, but they're on the border of, they're near it. They're clearly more Klingon-like and more like Orions and Klingons. It's just kind of fun. And they mentioned that the spunk that they find in the jars is a Tyrellian and a mixture of Letamok, Tyrellian and Tatamus, Termarellian and Tatamus, gametes and sperm and eggs in these jars that have been opened up, and Asloth jumps into one of them and starts licking it. That was in the script, in a way. It was in the script in that he somewhat, but the action figure, I couldn't show him doing that, so I just lowered the action figure into the jar and just had him go, and then made a noise like he's like. The jar was completely empty in the sketch, but there were other empty scenes too. There's the butterfly scene that's coming later. No butterfly. There's the apple scene earlier on where they were like, well, there's no apple, but you get the idea that he's got an apple. Because he's tossing an apple that goes way back to Star Trek 2, and everybody's been borrowing it since, including us, and Next Generation. And, that's very much like the Orville as well. But it isn't. It's not. So, what was actually going into production in 2025 was a fan film using Star Trek action figures where they kind of dressed a little like the Orville. But it turns out there was not a new Orville coming at all. It was just our fan film. It was Space Vanguards, and it was a Canary Space. That's all. Somebody's fan film. The internet, I tried to tell you it was just our fan film. Wouldn't listen. Okay, this is Calicat the Calicatster, and this is a finishing of the making of. I want to go through the making of thing, and this thing is long. I want to edit some of this making of down before I put it up there with the movie. The Vanguards, the Advanced Guard movie, and the saga that has taken us from February to middle of March now to put this movie together. The final edit is in the bay and done. I'm going to watch it, and I don't imagine any problems. I don't anticipate any problem with it. I've gone over it thoroughly at least twice. It's finally there. Also, some of the early suggestions in it were do certain things with the two acts, because it's kind of like two acts together. There's kind of like two 1 hour movies together. But no, they're close enough in terms of, so they're together. It's sphere of influence. Even though Kiwi Fiasco adds to it, it's still sphere of influence. So connect. That's all. That's pretty much it. Just wanted to say they're connected, and makes sense. They'd be connected. There are other making of stories where, this one character didn't appear to be right or something. Kind of like what happened with Canary Space, one of the characters. But in this case, it works because of how the character behaves, how the first officer behaves later on. That it actually is the Pettia lady. This lady named Pettia. She is Alicia Pettia. She is the commander who addresses him earlier. And then later on, she's turned tail and gotten on another ship. So it makes sense in the story. So all that long, I'm not sure how long the debate was about that, but it's correct. When you watch the story together, it's correct. She's who she should be, and the Kerrigan character is who she should be as well. McPherson and McCurran could be related. Sure. They're related. And naturally the other one would be mad that her spouse has run off to become a traitor. That's rather drastic. You didn't notice, but okay. But yes, as for the two different Chakotay's appearing, I don't think that's a problem because they're playing somebody else. And as for the other, the Hubris, the bartender on the ship resembling the guy that got beat up on the planet, because it's a similar guy. That doesn't matter either. They could be part of the same group or something. And all the other stuff works. Making it basically just about the sphere and then about the other planet is fine. It's a quest story. Sure, why not? And then when they get back to where they're going, you can do a lot with visuals. A lot of audio stingers. But the music is from this season's musical score. 12 minutes of cut down to a few minutes of this score that we put together for the thing. It's very funny, very witty. It came out longer than we thought. It's about 2 hours and 14 minutes. Although an earlier passive it was 2 hours and 18 minutes. So it's a little long, and that's because the second hour is a little long. And we tend to have this technique where it's mostly the dialogue that drives the show. Often the red letter media guys will complain about cheesy movies where the dialogue doesn't make sense, but or don't have a show that's all dialogue. That's silly. No, you can have a show that's dialogue if the dialogue makes sense, and the dialogue does. So it's fine. This is a fan film. As for anything else, I don't think there should be a problem, but we will watch the movie first before finishing off this thing and saving it. We're going to watch this and the making of thing here. Advanced Guard. We had to change the name, which we'll find out about. So it's a little long. And so is the making of. But then again, it's a fan film, and you can watch whenever you want. It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter in the sense that if you didn't watch the making of, you couldn't understand it. You can totally understand it. It makes sense. It finally achieved what we wanted to do 10 years ago with the release of Starcrackers on YouTube, and made a remake in which the characters extend the story onto what happened to the alien ship afterward. After they took the alien ship and brought it back to the planet, Lydios. So they get to see that. And we get to see what happened in the story. And it comes to a satisfying conclusion, and everything, I'm not sure about whether this is a trilogy like the Canary Space one was, and we go on to do more episodes. We will see. I'm not going to say we're suddenly going to do, because it's much shorter. There's only half of the data that had Canary Space. Canary Space was 7 novels that were 500 pages, and this one's 3 that are 500 pages, a little shorter. This is the first third of the first novel, and it works as a. We're going to continue the second and third of the novel. It's not going to be a quadrilogy like Canary Space was. Basically, Canary Space had the situation of having so much going on that wasn't enough to finish movie 3. It would have been 4 hours long, so I separated it into 2 movies because it was 4 hours long. Made it 2 and 3, even though clearly the Cat Planet story in that one led to the battle. In the next one, they're clearly connected. But in this one, I didn't want to do that. In this one, I had to say, okay, Sphere story is only an hour. Was kind of short. So let's include the other hour of the other story and put it next to it and make it the full movie that was meant to be in the 90s, in the 2000s. It's fun to look back on that and go, they finally did it. Finally did it. 30 years of Starcrackers. 31 years later. Oh, we finally did it.